All right, welcome back to the show. Today we're diving into the financial results of Varun Beverages or VBL for Q4 and CY 2024. I'm actually pretty excited about this one.
Me too. VBL, as a major PepsiCo franchisee, has been making some serious moves. So I guess let's jump right into what they do and how they've been doing it.
Sounds good. So, for those who don't know, Varun Beverages is like the big shot when it comes to producing and distributing PepsiCo's drinks in India and several other countries. I mean, we're talking Pepsi, Mountain Dew, 7 Up, and even Aquafina water.
Exactly. And they're not just sticking to the classics, they've been expanding into non carbonated beverages and even snacks in some regions. It's like they're trying to get a piece of every pie, right? Disclaimer: we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
Totally, it's a smart move, diversifying their portfolio. Now, they've also made some strategic acquisitions, right? Like in South Africa and Tanzania.
Oh, yeah, big ones. They acquired the beverage company in South Africa, giving them a stronger foothold there and in neighboring territories. And they're set to acquire PepsiCo's business in Tanzania and Ghana, pending approvals. This is, set to really boost their international presence.
So, how did all these moves translate into numbers? Let's talk financials. What were the big highlights for CY 2024?
Well, revenue from operations jumped by almost 25% to over 200 billion rupees. EBITDA increased by 30.5%, and PAT, or profit after tax, rose by 25.3%. I mean, these are some seriously impressive growth figures, right?
Absolutely. And it looks like they're selling more stuff too. Consolidated sales volume grew by 23.2% to over 1,124 million cases. That's a lot of beverages.
It is. And get this, their EBITDA margin improved too, thanks to better gross margins. They're getting more efficient, which is always a good sign. So, yeah.
What about Q4 specifically? Did they keep up the momentum?
They sure did. Revenue was up 38.3%, EBITDA increased by 38.7%, and PAT grew by 36.1% compared to Q4 2023. It's like they hit the gas pedal in the last quarter of the year.
It's interesting that a significant portion of their revenue and profits are realized in the April-June quarter due to seasonality. That's definitely something to keep in mind.
Definitely. And speaking of smart moves, they've been increasing the mix of low sugar and no sugar products. It's now over half of their sales volume. I mean, they are clearly catering to the health conscious crowd.
Right. That's a huge shift. It's like they saw the writing on the wall and adapted their strategy. Now, they declared a final dividend, didn't they?
They did. The board recommended a final dividend of 0.50 rupees per equity share, subject to shareholder approval.
When is the record date? This is pretty important for any shareholders listening.
Well, the press release mentions the dividend but doesn't specify the record date. But it does say that the record date to be fixed by the board of directors of the company.
And the payment date?
The payment date wasn't specified either. It just mentions that the final dividend will be paid within the prescribed statutory period.
Okay, so investors should keep an eye out for those dates. What other key developments should we highlight?
Well, there's the qualified institutional placement or QIP, where they raised a whopping 75 billion rupees. This is a, huge vote of confidence from investors.
Yeah, that's serious cash. What are they planning to do with all that money?
Primarily, they are looking at using it to pay off debt and fund acquisitions. It's like they're clearing the decks and building up their war chest for future expansion, right?
It makes sense. They also had a stock split, didn't they?
Yes. In September 2024, they split their existing shares, which, can make the stock more accessible to smaller investors.
Okay, that was a lot of information. Let's take a breather and recap the main points so far. VBL had a stellar year with significant revenue and profit growth, driven by both organic expansion and strategic acquisitions. They raised a ton of capital through a QIP, declared a dividend, and are focusing on healthier product options. Basically, they're firing on all cylinders.
Precisely. And they're really focused on sustainability too. It's like they're not just chasing profits, they're trying to be responsible corporate citizens,
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about their sustainability initiatives.
Well, they're working on reducing their water usage, increasing their renewable energy mix, and recycling more plastic. They even have a joint venture with Indorama to boost our PET packaging. which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. It's great to see companies taking environmental responsibilities seriously. How are they managing their distribution network?
They have a massive network with over 130 depots and thousands of distributors. Plus, they're installing tons of Visi coolers to reach more outlets. It's like they're making sure a cold Pepsi is always within arm's reach, right?
So, what's their outlook for the future? Are they expecting to keep up this pace of growth?
Well, they're planning to invest heavily in new greenfield facilities in India and expand their manufacturing capabilities in other countries. They're also focused on strengthening their last mile distribution. It sounds like they're pretty confident about the future.
Sounds like it. Any potential risks or challenges on the horizon?
Of course, there are always risks. Market conditions could change, regulatory hurdles could pop up, and competition could intensify. But, they seem to have a solid strategy in place to navigate these challenges.
All right, so let's wrap things up. What's your final assessment of Varun Beverages?
Overall, I'd say VBL is in a very strong position. They've demonstrated consistent growth, made smart acquisitions, and are investing in their future. And, well, it looks like they're well positioned to continue delivering value to their shareholders.
I agree. It's like they've built a well-oiled machine that's capable of churning out profits. And of course, investors should keep an eye on the record and payment dates for that dividend.
Definitely. And remember, everyone, do your own research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. This has been a fascinating look into the world of Varun Beverages. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, and if you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more in-depth financial analysis.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun breaking down these reports.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Remember to stay tuned for our next episode.